my people, Michigan people, interested Michigan people. It's the My People podcast, y'all.
All right, my guest today is an Ann Arbor comedian that I seen recently, probably a couple weeks ago, Erich Laux.
Yeah, Laux. Thanks for having me.
I picture the letters as I'm saying your name, and it throws me off. Just
it's
X's.
funny. When I first started comedy, getting introduced by all the hosts, no one ever knew how to say it. And the owner of the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase, Roger, or I guess he was the booker at the time, he would like make the hosts like pronounce it correctly. He would like go up to the host and like make sure you hit the X. And so like all of the other comics only learned because Roger forced them to. Like I never really cared that much.
Well, I said it like 3 times. Like, it's like, I don't know, but sometimes you get like dyslexic, or I don't know, when you're saying it, you put an X at the end, you're like, oh, how do I pronounce an X?
Yeah.
It just throws you off. But so yeah, man, I actually reached out to you probably like the perfect timing. It was earlier in the week, and you're like, well, the comedy festival's coming up. You are a co-producer of the Treetown Comedy Festival.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and that's coming up on the March 4th to 7th.
Yep, it'll be the 4th year in Ann Arbor.
Wow, 4 years. Mm-hmm. So did you kind of jump right into doing that? Like, all right, I mean, maybe let's go with your backstory. I think you went to school at U of M, right?
Yeah, I did. So I grew up in Pinckney, and then I went to U of M. So I moved to college, or I moved to Ann Arbor during college, and then just never left. Wow. So I first started doing stand-up at the University of Michigan. There was like a student organization, and back then it was called LOL Raffles Stand-Up Comedy Club to benefit children, because the guy who created it wanted to have like a student club, but also wanted it to look good on his resume.
Wow, that's funny.
And then, but that club still exists. Eventually they like rebranded. They're called Amateur Hour, but they still do shows like at like the league and the MLB and stuff like that. So it's cool that like the young crop of kids are like still doing shows at Michigan. But that was how I started, and then I started like going to the open mic at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase and doing other shows and starting to like run my own shows, and just kind of branched out from there. Did
that guy have like a nonprofit that where some of the donations were for comedy, some were for kids?
That was the thing. I think his grand scheme was he wanted to raise money for Mott's Children's Hospital, but then we only ever did free shows, so we never actually had any money to give.
Yeah, you got to get that .org. Gotta get that organization set up so you can get some donations.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I seen somewhere that you were going to U of M for electrical engineering. Were you successful in acquiring that?
Yeah, I got my degree, and I still work as an engineer to this day. So,
really?
Yeah, I do both comedy and engineering. They're kind of like hand in hand at this point.
Yeah, I mean, are you really doing the artist thing if you're not like doing the artist thing like broke with roommates?
Well, I mean, I lived in a house with like 2 other comics for years and years, so we definitely had like the comic vibes going on,
right?
Just like the crash pad, and anytime a touring comic came through town, needed a place to stay, we were the house to be. So I did that lifestyle for a while.
Well, that's awesome you're doing. I mean, I guess I do something similar. I'm trying to do videos and do films and things on the side while I have a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
So that's great. So you got a job like in the area and able to live in Ann Arbor and pursue your passion on your time off. And
and then, I mean, having the job's cool because I actually travel a decent amount for my job. And then, so whenever I'm traveling a lot, like as far as hobbies go, stand-up's a pretty good one to do while you're on the road. Like most, hitting the local most like medium to big size cities like have a scene, even if it's not a club. They'll have like open mics or whatever, which when you're in a city for the first time is just kind of like cool to like check out the local scene and meet the other comics,
meet people, and those are probably like your kin, like you kind of click with the most.
100%.
That's awesome.
Yep.
It's like, when electrical engineering is kind of like when someone says they're in IT, it's like, are you making, I don't know, measurement devices for spaceships? Are you like helping people installing internet for Comcast? So like, what kind of electrical engineering are you?
So I work for a company that does vision systems for the robots that build cars. So a lot of the times when I'm traveling for work, I'm traveling to factories to like install the systems.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, it's, very Michigan automotive engineering,
It's a good state to be in that.
Exactly.
Now, was that something they helped you when you were in school? Like, here's a good niche, or was this more looking for jobs and you had a degree and somebody trained you?
No, it was actually kind of funny. So going to Pinckney High School, they had like a really impressive robotics program. And so I took that while I was there. And then I kind of liked that. And all the way through college, I kind of had in my mind that I wanted to be in robotics. And then a lot of the internships I took were robotics based. Like at one summer I got to go to NASA Marshall Space Flight Center and like work as an intern there. And we like did a robotics project. And so that whole time through, I kind of like knew that's what I wanted to be in. And then at the engineering career fair, they like send out a document with just like all of the companies that will be there. And I just like Control F robotics and went and talked to all those companies and found the company I work for, which is kind of like a smaller company, very niche, like very cool vibes, like a place I've liked to work. I've been there for 11 years now. So
yeah, like a small company and knowledgeable people to learn from.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome, man. It's great to hear. I was, based off your set and everything, I was kind of expecting the opposite thing. Like, I just, people laughed, and I just said, fuck a degree. So I dropped out. I stayed in the dorm a couple more years, but I just stopped going to class and started working on my bit.
Yeah, I've just found that like kind of having that stability can really help you like with the actual artistic things. Like even as far as
removes that pressure of like our doubt.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And if we're being honest, comedy doesn't pay well at all. So I've been able to like say yes to some gigs that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. Like in the past, I've done Alaska Before You Die festival, which was like an amazing experience, but like I had to pay for my own flights to go to Alaska. But like those shows are so cool. Being in Alaska was awesome. But if I didn't have a day job, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that festival.
Yeah. I mean, same experience here with just affording gear or something, being able to invest and do things and expand your knowledge and get better and
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome. So how long were you doing comedy before the idea of the Treetown Comedy Festival came about?
Oh, that's a great question. So I guess I did comedy all 4 years of college. So that was, and I graduated in 2014. And then I started really taking it more seriously once I graduated. I was like, all right, I'm done with school. I have my job. Let me start like really doing multiple shows a week, like between like 100 and 250 shows a year, depending on the year.
Wow.
And I did that. And then we started the festival in 2022, if this is the fourth year.
Yep.
Yeah. So, between about 7 years, or does that math work out? Yeah. About 7 years of like doing lots of shows and being on other festivals, seeing what works well, what things I think could be improved upon, like learning, my favorite parts about a festival are like when you can have like cool shows and also like bring in cool comics from around the country and kind of combine like both the local scene with like kind of a national scene, and like so they get to see how cool your scene is, how cool your city is, while also like your local crowds can see how awesome these comics you're bringing in are.
Yeah, because some people don't go out to local shows unless it's a big a touring
100%. Yeah.
So the best thing you can have is, some guys are nice, nice enough to have like local openers to introduce you to them. But
yeah. And that is one of the things we like to focus on that some of the other festivals don't, is that for all of our headline shows, we make sure we have like the featured comics get to open. So instead of being like just like two comics on a show, like one opener and one headliner,
right,
we'll have like between 3 and 5 comics doing like shorter sets, but they'll be like from all over the country, like Michigan. There'll always be a couple of Michigan comics, and then comics we've brought in from around the country to be the opener. So you can really see like even more, even if you do just go to see like one of the sold out Ron Funches shows, in addition to that, you'll get to see a couple of the comics we handpicked that we really like, that we want you to see.
That's something you learn kind of from your R&D going to other comedy shows.
I just think it's so cool. Like comedy is there's just such a cool way to discover, like being live in the show and just seeing a comic and like, man, I really like that comic. I'm so happy I got to see him because I never knew about him previously. I think being at a show and like finding new comics is like one of the coolest things. So the fact that we can kind of like make that happen is one of the things I'm proud of.
Yeah, me and my wife, we love to go to the comedy showcase, and I feel like it's so slept on. We go there all the time, and it's so cheap, perfect date. We go to a restaurant, get dinner, go there, comedy show, maybe grab a drink after, or another snack or something. But there's always great comics there.
Yeah,
you know?
It's the Ann Arbor Comic Showcase is one of my home clubs. It's one of the best clubs in the country, and I mean it's existed since the 80s. It's like one of the longest running clubs. It's independently run.
Great layout.
It's so awesome. Like the stage is cool. Like and as from the comics perspective, the audiences are always so awesome and like smart and like in it. They like understand comedy.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not like you're doing a bar show and you're having to like fight hecklers all the time, stuff like that. It's like they're good crowds, and
is that a common thing, like bars trying to pull, like just bring in comedians like as like a 1 night a week thing, or?
Yeah, it's
really?
I mean, without bar shows it'd be hard to be a comic,
really,
because there's only so many clubs, so we're all doing a lot of bar shows.
Now, how's that look? Like a bar, just like they want to have a karaoke night, or they want to have like a band night for live music. They just have a night where they say we're going to do a comedy, and then somebody in the team takes it upon themselves to book comedians. And
so I mean, there's a few different ways to do it, but like I'd say the way that's most successful is usually either they will find a comic or a comic will approach them, and they'll kind of like partner. So like the comic will kind of just be like the producer, like running the shows there, and they'll kind of book, and the bar, they'll like figure out the ticket sales and like whatever the deal is with the bar or that kind of stuff. And then so like when is the comic running it, it tends to be a little smoother, but
okay, that makes sense. I mean, same thing for a karaoke person. They approach the bar and say, hey, I could probably bring in some people doing this.
Yeah.
And I imagine it would be bad because, I mean, what do you get with a bar? You get a lot of regulars that are drinking.
Yeah.
Or they know the owner, so they feel like they own the place too. And then they're just going to be comfortable enough to heckle. And
but it is funny.
Loud.
Like sometimes you just, like, if it's a really well-run show, you get these like awesome shows and like places you might not even expect. Like I've done some really fun like shows at like breweries and stuff where it's like good crowds, but like, this is the place these folks like to hang out, but like they also like comedy, and we booked one heck of a lineup, and it's like, wow, that was a really fun show for everyone involved. And like even if a lot of times those shows will be on like random nights of the week, like I just did a show in Lansing at the Green Door on a Tuesday, but it was a fun show. Like I enjoyed my time on stage.
That's awesome. Yeah, I never even thought to. I mean, it's easy at the comedy show because I'll just get on there once in a while and just look through the calendar and I kind of pick a day and look at mine and my wife's calendar and be like, all right, it's a good day night. Let's do that. And I'll just buy the tickets.
Yeah.
And something happens, something comes up, whatever. They're like $15 or $10 or something, So, but I never just don't usually see too many bars like, I'd imagine it's a one-off thing and they'd be promoting it. And
actually, one of the venues on the festival is Bloom Mead Works, so they like specialize in like mead and cider.
Okay.
But my friends have been running a monthly show there since 2019, and it, tickets are cheap. I think it's like $10 a seat, but that sells out like every month. It's like a super popular night. And the crowds are always into it. It's in kind of like, it's not in the main bar area. They have kind of like a side room. So it's like, if you want to just go drink the mead, you're allowed to like stay just in the bar area. But if you want to watch a show, you like get your ticket and you go in the side room and listen to the comic. But it's an awesome, that was actually one of the things that kind of like led to the festival, is we started like having these successful shows around Ann Arbor. Like, so the club has always been there.
Right.
And then, my friends kind of started running that show at Bloom Mead Works, and then we kind of like a group of us kind of started running a show at the Blind Pig every Monday. And then we were like, well, we're kind of building the scene like almost like one venue at a time, and they're all fun shows. It's like if we just combine these all to happen over the same weekend, and we bring in more comics from further away, then all of a sudden you have a festival.
And the bigger the festival you get, probably the bigger outside comics that you can bring in.
Yeah, 100%.
Things too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that the timing worked out with that. So it's March 4th through 7th. And I don't know, what's kind of some of the highlights for this year that you're kind of most excited about? Anything new? Or
it's always so easy to get excited about the headline shows that we have. So this year the headliners are Tina Frimmel will be at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase Friday and Saturday. Ron Funches will be at the Blind Pig. Those shows, one of them's already sold out. The other one's going to any day now. Jeffrey Azimuth and Emily Catalano. And those are also like, all of those are like some of my favorite comics. So the fact that they were able to like get all of them on the same year has been really cool. Right. And then, but it's easy to get excited about the headliners. But this year we also have like some awesome showcase shows. And I think the one for people who like don't go to comedy that much, the one I recommend is actually the kickoff show, which is called the Comedy Rumble. So we have 30 comics, and they all do 90 seconds.
Oh, wow.
And so we try to get as many of the comics that we're bringing in from around the country to come in, on Wednesday to be there for it. And then they each do 90 seconds. Then at the end, there's one winner, and they win like a wrestling belt. But that's every year we have that since the inaugural year. That's been like our kickoff show, and it's just such a cool way to like get to know all of the comics, and also just like if you're kind of newer to comedy, it's like such a cool way to just like see a lot of different styles and a lot of different comics and their various jokes and whatnot, like kind of in a very succinct, like bang 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 fast-paced format.
That sounds awesome. So that's been going on since the beginning. That's kind of like a really idea.
So that was so my one of my closest friends, Brett, he was actually one of the comics I used to live with. He started that show almost like a Christmas party for comics, where he was like, the only way I can get all of my stand-up comedy friends in the same room is if I book them on a show. So one year in December, he booked 30 different comics to come all do 90 seconds. In the end, he named a winner or whatever, and he called it the Comedy Rumble. And then it was a really fun show, and he did it again the next year, and then he started doing it almost like seasonally. And then it was just like a really successful show in the Michigan scene. He did it at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. He did it at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, Detroit House of Comedy. And it's always been a fun show. So we knew that we wanted that to be our kickoff show. And Brett is one of our producers on the festival. So it was really easy to have that be kind of like the big, like, hey, this is such a fun event. Come see all of the comics almost on one show. And then there's all of the other shows throughout the weekend where you can kind of see them do a longer, more traditional set.
Kind of like a meet and greet for the comedians as well.
Yeah.
You guys do like a panel like for judges on it? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so the judges are past winners, and then they do like a 5-7 minute set at the beginning of the set. So you kind of like at the beginning of the show, you kind of see the judges, and then they sit on stage with like their clipboards and like judge as the show goes. Yeah. And then there's typically one comic who's the previous year's winner, who was Pat Sievert. I think I'm pretty sure we're doing this again this year, but he'll kind of like close out the show. And as like Brett tallies the totals to see who actually won, and then they announce the winner and give them their wrestling belt.
So is that the 3rd or the 4th? Is that on the 4th?
That's on the 4th, Wednesday.
Okay.
So that's always a show I really look forward to.
So that's kind of like that's like the main thing on. That's like the only thing really on Thursday.
The only thing on Wednesday is the Comedy Rumble kickoff show.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then this year we are adding some a little more variety in some of the shows. So last year it was right after Hearsay Brewing and Theater opened, and they primarily focused on improv comedy, which is really cool. Ann Arbor was kind of lacking in that department since Pointless closed during COVID. So the fact they opened this like improv theater, and it's a cool space. They brew their own beer, really cool. So we kind of incorporated them last year by having just 2 shows there. One called Stamprov, where the audience like write down like topics, and then stand-up comics just have to like riff their set based on the topics they pull from a bucket.
Stand-up
yeah.
Oh, it wasn't like improv with like a group or nothing?
No, it was just like improv and comedy. We call it Stamprov. And then we did another show where hosted by Jake Russell, where it is a group of improv comics, but they a stand-up comic does their normal set, and then the improv comics do improv based on that stand-up comic set, called I Ain't No Joke. So last year we incorporated those 2 kind of like stand-prov-y or like, improv element, but still kind of focus on our like stand-up comedy roots into the festival. And this year, those shows were so fun. This year we're like, all right, let's add 2 more shows at Hearsay. It's like, kind of the cool small theater vibes. So in addition to those, we're adding a couple more unique shows, including like a roast battle show where comics, they get to do a set, so you can kind of like learn to know them a little bit, get to know their vibes, and then 2 comics will roast each other head to head with jokes.
And it does another thing with the panel probably too.
And so then there'll be judges determining like the winner of each roast battle set.
I absolutely love the roast stuff. I find myself watching. I mean, I get the gut wrenching laughs the most, like just from you know, it's all hard. It's like, you know, you even see people getting roasted, laughing, like, you know, no one's ever crying. It's just, I mean, they just respect a good joke. And
100%.
It's so fun to watch.
And, you know, it's all, the comics all get it. And so a comic, if anyone can take a joke, a comic can take a joke, especially one that.
They actually just appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly.
Appreciate, like, laugh at themselves. And I didn't know that this has such a dense schedule. Is there like a website you guys have where everything's on there, like, listed? With links to tickets and stuff.
TreetownComedy.com has all of the shows, all of the ticket links, has everything you need to know.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be out there a day or two for sure, checking things out. I'd like to check out that opening day. Is there still tickets for that available?
There is, yeah. In the past, it has sold out, but usually not till like day of. So you got a little time.
Yeah, that sounds like a really cool way to, like you said, see a lot of different comics. And yeah, seems like a perfect launch event. So that's kind of what the whole thing was kind of based off of. You seeing like, oh, this guy organized this weird little family Christmas party for comedians. And it's working, and then it's kind of like, you're already doing festivals, so it's kind of like naturally played out, huh? Yeah,
from a comics perspective, like the hang is such a big part of a fest. It's like, yes, the shows are always fun, and obviously we all love being on stage, but like, you can get that out of any normal like club weekend. But what you don't get out of a normal club weekend is meeting 30 other comics from around the country and kind of like, you know, hanging out. And we have after parties for the comics and those kind of things, or it's like, it has more of a social aspect to it that is, you know, might be lacking from just like a normal stand-up comedy weekend.
I've noticed that, you know, even in my past when I was in bands and you know, there's, you know, people say communities, you tend to think, you know, local community, but it's really just communities behind interests and everything like that. Everybody ends up being like a similar, you know, mindset or similar vibe. And just, you know,
100%, especially with comedy, because inherently there is kind of like a travel aspect built in, because it's like, you know, we all perform at our local clubs, but then there's only so many clubs in your area, right? So then you find yourself traveling to different cities and meeting other comics. So sometimes you'll meet a comic and you'll do, you know, 5 shows with them over a weekend, have a fun time, but then you won't see them again for another year or two. So it's like there always seems to be these kind of like fun reunions and stuff at festivals where all these comics come together, and it's like, oh, we haven't seen you since we both did that random club in that random city.
Yeah. Now, is that also like something like that kind of helps you out too, where you meet somebody doing shows and, you know, this state, and then they kind of like, you should come out to this, you know, I can hook you up and get you a spot on here, you know, because they have an in at that other comedy club. And,
100%. It's very much just like comics helping comics, and even just like, you know, giving people a couch to crash on sometimes, or you know, putting in a good word for them with a booker or those kind of things. It's like comedy very much is like making friends, and, you know, having a good time is all part of it. And, you know, networking is like a weird term, but like, you know, if you don't think about it like that, if you just think about it as like, I make friends when I do comedy, then it's like, it is a part of it.
I'm always wondering too, like people are, you know, every creative art has like its own process. Like, what's kind of your process? Is it, I imagine there's a certain level of just kind of capturing ideas, jotting them down, right? And then, you know, I'd imagine some people have to sit down and try to write and connect these ideas, and some people probably just take the ideas, try to figure them out on stage, and then lock them in. What's kind of your process?
Anytime I think of anything that I think could even remotely be a premise, I'll put it in the notes app on my phone, and then every once in a while I'll like go through and kind of pick out, and if I feel like it's something that could be fleshed out more, I will try to like write it out kind of more fully, or sometimes I'll just like take it straight on stage, so like an open mic type situation. And
see if the pressure brings something out.
Because sometimes you can like riff something, especially if it's like a story, which I tend to do a lot more storytelling style, where it's like, well, if it's a story I'm going to tell, it's like I should just say it how I want to say it, and then kind of like edit it from there. So then I'll, you know, say these kind of rough drafts on stage and what I've written, and then I'm a big proponent of like watching back my own set, either the video or listening to the audio that I record, and then kind of making the tweaks, realizing like what parts need more laughs, and like focusing on that part, kind of editing as I go. And then it's a very kind of like iterative process. So, which is one of the reasons why, like, being a comic, you have to get on stage a lot, not only to like be comfortable on stage, because like at this point I'm pretty comfortable on stage. I've been doing it for 15 years or whatever, but also to kind of like hone your material.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, it's an art form, just the fact of getting on stage, holding attention and holding a room, you know, and creating that energy and keeping everybody engaged and watching.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people just struggle with that right there, and that only comes with experience.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a long time to like not be like physically nervous on stage, and I have a couple of videos of when I was a young, like 18-year-old comic at University of Michigan, and I was like just like so nervous. It's like palpable when I watch the video. It's like I cringe when I watch it. I'm like, oh man,
you see like every gulp you take.
Yeah, like take a breath, man.
You're also awfully shiny.
Yeah,
sweating out there. Now I know Andy. I think
yeah.
I know he said he went. He just did it, and everybody laughed. So he's like, oh, maybe there's something here. Did you have a similar thing where you kind of did like an early time and then thought you did half decent and kind of went down that road? Or
Yeah, I think
you had to push through you weren't good at it and had to push through.
No, I think I was just so excited in the moment that I'm not sure I knew I was doing good or not. Like in hindsight, I definitely was not doing well, but I was getting laughs because I think my jokes that I had written were fine, but my delivery was the worst thing you've ever seen in your whole life. So I think
nerves, you get nerves and stuff.
I was so nervous, and I was like checking my notes in between. I was writing like very short jokes, and I could not for the life of me remember the next joke anytime. So after every joke, I had to look down at my note card to remember what the next one was. But I remember like I was definitely getting laughs, but I was not killing. It was kind of like just enough where I'm like, okay, like they like that idea, they like that joke, and whereas like, all right, I'll keep that one and I'll keep working on it. And so I think I was getting, and part of it is I had favorable crowds, right? I was at U of M, so like all of the people in the audience were just other students. It was like they kind of got my vibe and whatnot. So starting, I think I was doing just enough for just well enough where I didn't want to quit.
Right.
And then I started to like slowly get better, especially like delivering the jokes I had written. And then like I remember the first time I ever like had like a legitimately very good set was at Cantina Bar on South U. We used to run like a bi-weekly show on Tuesdays. And I was like, I didn't know I could do that well. Like I got off stage, I was like shaking, but like in a good way. I'm like, whoa.
Like I was floating out there.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so it took a while, but I kind of like slowly got better and better. And then like once you kind of like figure it out, then you're like, well, I want to do that more. I want to do that even better. And kind of like has always like snowballed into like kind of just driving to like continue to do it better.
Well, you're kind of like technical minded, or you're at least good at like troubleshooting stuff. You were doing robotics and things, so even after your first set of kind of like doing half decent, you were probably left a second you got off stage, you're like, next time this.
Yeah.
So like you could kind of see the progress, how the progression would happen, right?
Yeah, I think that's very true for me personally. Is I'm always viewing everything as kind of like a problem that can be fixed.
Right. Like that's probably why you like to record too, because you could tell, oh, that's a little null there. Let's pick it up.
Because sometimes in the moment, it's kind of hard to tell. Like when you're on stage, you're in the zone. You're just kind of like you're vibing with the audience. They're like giving you feedback in the terms of like laughs or not laughs, and you're kind of flowing between jokes. Like I'll go off script quite a bit, and like kind of work my way back to whatever I wanted to talk about. But once you like watch the video back, it becomes more obvious that, you know, what in the moment you're kind of just like living it.
Got a third person in.
Yeah.
Up
so
and
once I watch it afterwards, and I'm like, okay, here's the
It-
parts I can improve.
Also, you're kind of, because I watched comedy, specials, and I went and seen comedy, and when you're in person and watching it, it's a completely different thing. So the vibe of that room, you're probably just picking up on that and whatever. But when you have that crappy camera recording your set, you're gonna lose a lot of that. And then you really get to kind of look at it through a magnifying glass, raw, like a really raw version of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, not that it was a bad set. It's just,
nothing's ever perfect.
It back, it's gonna be a little different.
Yeah, as I can be kind of a perfectionist, so it's like, even if it is a good set, I feel like I could always watch, one of my videos and be like, oh, I could probably edit that. I could probably change that wording, stuff like that. So
very cool.
Nothing's ever truly done, especially in like an artistic form. But
I know my cousin, he's very technically minded too, and he's doing like clips right now, and he's like getting really into the data and like studying that. And it's like you can, if you have that troubleshooting mind to kind of dive in deep and know what questions to ask and know what to look for, you can really figure out kind of anything.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. So you did you have one like EP punk, like what's the name of your special?
It was called Technical Difficulty EP. So the backstory was I I lived at Luther Co-op, which was one of like the hippie houses in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
And then after I graduated, I moved out of that house, but I was still friends with a lot of like the folks who were living there at the time. And that was when I started to like take comedy more seriously. And I thought it would be just like a cool place to like record an album. And I was still a pretty newish comic at the time. But I set up a show there. I bought a keg and convinced a bunch of college kids to show up to the show. It was just like a free show with free beer. And they're like, yeah, we packed out this dining room. There's probably like 75 people in this dining room. And
I think I've seen a clip of it. In the middle of the set, I think you go over and get a beer and ask anybody else if they want a beer from the fridge.
Yeah. And we did quite a few shows there like that. And when I lived there, and then that was the only one we did after I moved out. But it was just like a really fun show. And my friend who was doing kind of like audio engineering stuff was like working with a lot of local bands. I talked to him. He's like, yeah, like let's record it. Maybe you can put it out as an album. So I did 45 minutes, like a normal headline length set. But he had like upgraded a bunch of his equipment. So it was his first time using it. And so the laptop went to sleep like a half hour into the show.
Oh no.
And there was like about 15 minutes of openers before I went on. And so it went to sleep about 15 minutes into my set. So all of the audio was lost. The last half hour was lost. But
that was that full YouTube video that I seen. Is that all there?
that might be a different show. I'm not sure that was actually the official like
okay.
The one where I actually recorded the audio.
All right. I was about to say, because if that was the full shot, I mean, now they have, with the wonders of AI, you could probably take that whole thing and have it,
Yeah. But that was, so at the time I was pretty disappointed that I didn't get it. But like a couple months after that, I like went back and listened. I'm like, it sounds good and it is fun. And like I grew up going to a lot of like different like punk shows and like local bands and stuff. And like all of my favorite bands started by putting out an EP before they ever put out their first full length album. And I was like, and I recorded it in like a punk house that we used to have bands play. Like it actually felt right that I should release it as an EP,
like just a teaser.
Yeah.
Kind of
And just so it's just like, a little 15-minute album. It's just the first 15 minutes I did that night. And I for something like, as a first release, I think it's like a really fun thing to like look back on. And
yeah.
Do
you have any plans to do another, like record your current set or anything? Or?
Yeah, it's I feel like I'm always like coming up with different ideas and grand ideas. But the hardest part is definitely like finding the right venue or things like that. There's been a couple times where I've discussed doing. So more often than not at a real club, like the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase, I'm like the feature act in the middle doing like 25 minutes. And so that's obviously not like full length set either. Right. But something comics I know have done in the past is like they'll just record the audio from like all of the sets in the weekend and then kind of like combine that to be a 45-minute set.
Wear the same outfit.
Yeah. So like I've considered doing stuff like that, but it seems like logistically difficult, especially like when you're not the headliner. And then just like I do my headline shows here and there, but usually it's in like a bar scenario where it's maybe not the best scenario, like best situation for like recording and stuff like that. So
do you ever, you record your sets? I seen you setting up a camera when we were there. So you do those recordings. Do you ever take clips of those and put those online, or is it kind of?
Yeah. More recently I've been trying to get more into like actually using social media and putting clips up, but a lot of those are for like submitting to bookers and submitting to festivals. They require like either like a 5-minute video or a 20-minute video. And so a lot of times I'll try to record my sets and just for like having it to submit to bookers.
Right.
But lately I have been, so if people wanted to go to my Instagram, they could find clips of various stand-up moments.
Very cool. I know when I was like in bands, it was traditionally everybody's, let's do 12, let's wait till we have 12 songs, release an album. But I'm like, well, we're not using physical medium anymore. Like we're not using CDs. So it's like, I always thought like it'd be cool to do a band and just to say, okay, we're going to release a new song every month, and then just do a fun little video for it or something, and just do smaller bite-size content versus trying to do the traditional route.
Which is very cool. There was a band from Chicago called Into It Over It, and they first became known because they did a project called 52 Weeks where every week the guy would write and release a new song, like one a week for
Such
a
a great
full year.
exercise for your creativity too, you know?
Yeah. And so anytime somebody does something like that, it's like a little outside the box and like really like sparks their own creativity, I think is like cool to see.
Plus it's, I mean, it hooks you too, because it's almost like a broader story there on top of the individual songs. It's like, is this guy really gonna keep this up?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
We're only 3 weeks in. He looks kind of tired. You know?
Yeah.
And so you're like following the progress. It's the same thing if somebody's on a big trip or something. You know, you're following the story of the individual videos, but you're also following the story of the overall journey. You know?
Yeah.
So it's, you know, just like movies, the more arcs you have, the more interesting the movie is. You know? Or a comedy bit is probably the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, you bring back, you do callbacks. You know, so you got this bigger arc, you got smaller arcs, and you know, it's the arc building. So
yeah, definitely, just how everything kind of falls together.
Right. Yeah, it's cool stuff. And I always think like it's just fun to think about like the world we live in now, especially with like technology. It's like, you know, there's so much room to reinvent things the way we do things with the connective tissue of the internet, and you know, but we kind of get stuck in those, understandably, you know, in the traditional ruts. You know, we're gonna film in 24 frames a second. We're gonna do, you know, and we want to keep those traditions around, but so much room for play there.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. Especially with technology, and even just I feel like comics are always finding like new interesting ways to like build followings and like gain fans and sell tickets, where it's like at this point it's like not even every comic is doing the same thing, but they might sell the same number of tickets, where it's like one comic is really big on one platform, whereas this other comic is really big on a completely different platform, but those things both worked for them more or less equally, where they both have their own fan bases
or newsletters or whatever. I know a long time ago, like thinking of just like different unique ideas with that you can do with the internet today. A long time ago, I had this like idea I was pretty passionate about. It was called, well, the name probably is a work in progress, but I was going to call it shitcoms. But basically, it's just going to be like little mini sitcoms. So, you know, the hardest thing when you're filming, me and my cousin talked about this too, but people would always come to you and be like, the car explodes and then we're going to be in jail. And it's like, these is a lot of sets, so we got to set up and places we have to go. And you know, you're making it hard. What we need, you know, you understand like the beauty of a sitcom, which is like one main room, you know, some bedroom or whatever, a TV and a couch. So the idea was like to make like a sitcom with like one set, you know, film in my living room, but do like an episode every like Tuesday and Thursday. Yeah. And they're just like 1 minute, 2 minute videos, and you can have like a whole season arc, and you can have like maybe an arc between those two or something, you know. But you know, what's Dan's getting in trouble, and then you know, next week he gets a girlfriend, you know. But I thought that would be a cool. It's kind of like sitcoms designed for the internet. For shorts, definitely. You know? Someday I might circle back on that one, but
might as well.
I think it would be a cool. I love writing comedy. Me and my cousin, we did one of our funnest ones. We did Unicycle Cops. We went to Detroit, and we had this really funny script. It was kind of long. We were young. We were just like, we were doing all kinds of long stuff. You know? And then you start realizing that people's attention spans aren't that. You know, you just think, oh, I made this, and it's great looking. Everyone's gonna watch it. People don't care as much, you know. That's one thing you learn when you get in the video. But it was hilarious. I rode my unicycle, had a full-on cop outfit, you know, like walkie-talkie, mustache, you know, everything. It was hilarious. One of my favorite lines he wrote. He's funny at writing stuff, but it took us about 10, 15 takes to get it. But like I'm walking, I'm like, back in the day they used to call me Cat because I always land on my feet, and I used to shit in a box. That line's hilarious. Yeah, anytime you can just like create stuff with your friends is awesome. Oh yeah. We did a lot of that stuff. That's what always makes me think about trying to write more comedy shorts or like this sitcom idea. You know? Because it'd be fun to like have a group that you're gonna laugh around a writing table or bring concepts. A lot of times when we were doing stuff, it would just be texting back and forth. One of us would set an idea, the other person's sending back lines. We're sending lines back and forth, and one of us would this is what either makes it or doesn't make it. Sometimes we just do that and forget about it. But one of us takes all those ideas, says, oh, there's enough here, and just gathers up all the pieces, puts it into a script. You know, we're filming in a couple of weeks. But definitely, if somebody doesn't grab all the pieces, do something with it. Just kind of floats away. That is kind of there's kind of like similarities and dissimilarities between like stand-up, because a lot of times like if I'm working on a bit, I will like text my friends and like run lines by them, but then it's like, you know, they'll give me feedback, or they'll be like, maybe not that one or whatever, but then it's like it all falls on me to like actually like be the person comprising that, right? Because it's like my act, or you know,
stuff like that. So there is some similarities where it's like we are like comics will toss ideas
like
back and
riff
forth
off of a premise together.
yeah, or even just like like do you like this line, or like can I reword this better, or
and it's not like they're like, oh, I'll help them out. It's like they legit just want to have fun with that premise with you and just kick stuff your way.
100%.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yes, who knows? I always say I'm going to do it, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be at an open mic night someday at the Comedy Showcase.
I'd love to see it.
I was telling Andy about it. Of course, he gave me encouragement, but yeah, he's a great guy too. So he went the cruise ship route. You ever got approached to do that?
No, I've never. I think that's one of the things about having like my
your job,
day job is like it'd be tough to do those ones that you're like away for longer.
Yeah. I tell you what, I just got back from a cruise ship. I do love cruise ships. I don't think I could live on them. It's kind of like, for my job, I had to go do training, and I had to go to Fort Lauderdale for like for like a week, a month, for like 5 months.
Yeah.
I was so done with traveling after that. Like,
yeah.
You know, I remember a time when I was young, and it was just like, I'm getting on a plane. Like, I don't know, I just felt like Hollywood when I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm on a plane, I'm flying somewhere.
Yeah.
I didn't fly that much, but it gets old quick. I'm very much a nester. I like to be in my house, my bed, you know, my studio.
I'm kind of the opposite, where I feel like if I'm home for too long, I get a little like antsy. I'm like, oh, like I need to get out, go get on stage or something.
Yeah. So you say you get to travel for work, and then you just kind of call ahead and get some spots?
So like even like this weekend, I was able to like jump on a show in Chicago at the Lincoln Lodge, and it was like I had like a couple weeks notice where I was going to be there, and I was like, well, like let me look into a show, and then I messaged the booker, sent a video, and I was able to like jump on a show. So
do you end up with coworkers in the audience sometimes?
Sometimes my boss definitely came to see me back in the day when I was hosting at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase, which was fun.
Yeah.
I think you had a good time.
That's awesome. Did you think it helped your career?
Probably neutral.
That's funny. Do you ever get like I don't know, people that you know or like coworkers like, oh, you're a comedian, like poke you, like perform? Like,
that's like
say something funny.
That's like most of it.
Yeah.
That is one of the upsides to putting an album out. Is it's so easy to just be like, just go listen to my album. Like it's free on Spotify. Or like
what I do is I make a show. That's like I sculpt a show for you to watch. You can go watch it.
Yeah.
I'm not a monkey. I don't like.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna dance the second you tell me to make me laugh. That's funny. So what's some of the other like more like popular? Like, what's your kind of like favorite? Let's say somebody misses the show on the 4th or the 7th or whatever. What's some comedians that are kind of always in Ann Arbor that people just should go see besides Erich Laux?
Yeah. Well, anytime you see the Comedy Rumble happening, highly recommend that. Because Brett will do that. Like, we have it as our kickoff show, but in addition to that, he'll do it, maybe once or twice a year around the area. And usually in December, he'll have like his anniversary show. So that's like a really good one. And then, I mean, you really can't miss just by going to like pretty much any show at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. It's so cool. But I also love Hearsay as a venue is really cool. They mostly do improv, but every 4th Friday of the month, they let me and my co-producers run a stand-up show called Treetown Stand-Up Showcase. So like every 4th Friday at 9 p.m. we have like a stand-up show at Hearsay, which is always a really fun show. So I recommend that.
How many comedians are usually?
So it's usually like 6 comics doing 10 minutes a piece. So nice, cool. You get like a good amount of time, and also a good amount of variety. Yeah. Diverse lineup, built like stylistically. So
yeah, I have to check that out.
Yeah. So Ann Arbor has a lot of cool stuff, and there's always cool comics coming through. There's a lot of like great comics just like who are based out of Ann Arbor and do a lot of shows. We're also traveling and doing shows around like Ella Horwedel and Esteban Tuma. They're some Ann Arbor based comics are doing cool things. Andrew Yang is awesome. Jacob Barr has been blowing up, headlining a lot of clubs lately. So Ann Arbor has a really strong scene that I think we're all kind of like proud of, and we're all kind of like rooting for each other, and also like competitive in a friendly way, right? Where you see your friends doing well, and that kind of drives you to write more and improve, step up your game. And so I think especially for like the size of the city, Ann Arbor has a lot of really cool comedy happening. And I think like Treetown Comedy Festival is a proof of that, where it's like, come to any show over those 4 days and you're going to see some really awesome comedy.
That's awesome, man. Well, we can kind of wrap it up there. I think that was a good way to end it. The Treetown Comedy Festival, March 4th through 7th. I'm definitely gonna try to make it to that Rumble that on the 4th.
That'd love to see you there.
Probably jump on after this, see if I can grab a ticket.
Yeah.
But man, I really appreciate you coming out here. We were strangers before you came out, and it was great talking with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm sure I'm gonna see you around Ann Arbor at some shows.
Yeah, stop by, say hi.
Interested in Michigan people. It's the My People Podcast Show.